You know how it is, right? Someone gets super excited about a new online venture. They dive in headfirst, and then, a few months later, poof, they're gone. Just radio silence. It happens all the time, and the real reason why it happens is almost never what we think it is. So let's get into that.
I mean, just look at the numbers. Last year, literally millions of people decided, this is it, I'm doing it. They took the plunge, got all the right gear, and were totally ready to build their own thing online. It was this incredible wave of ambition.
But here's where it gets kind of weird. That initial fire you see in month 1, by month 3, it's sputtering. And by the 6-month mark, a shocking number of those millions of people have just quietly packed it in. Their brand new online business is now a ghost town.
And look, it wasn't because they cheaped out on the tools, not at all. They had the premium website builders, the fancy analytics software, the expensive courses. They checked all the boxes. They had everything they were told they absolutely needed to crush it.
So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If it's not about the software and it's not about the tools, what's the real roadblock? What's the thing that makes so many determined people just give up?
Well, here's the secret. The answer isn't something you can buy or code. It's not about outsmarting the algorithm or finding some secret traffic source. The biggest barrier, the one that really matters, is completely invisible. It's internal.
And that barrier is a lack of something called psychological endurance. Think of it as your mental toughness. It's your ability to just keep showing up, to keep pushing forward, even when you're in a completely chaotic environment where, let's be honest, you control almost nothing.
And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? In one column, you've got all the stuff that's completely out of your hands. Ad costs that can skyrocket, new competitors popping up, and oh yeah, those lovely platform updates that can wreck your whole strategy overnight. But then there's the other column. That's your turf. That's what you do control. And this is where we get to the actual strategy for survival. It all boils down to focusing like a laser on the one thing you have total power over, choosing your attitude.
Now, I know what you might be thinking, another motivational quote. But this isn't just some fluffy feel-good poster. For anyone in this game, this is a core survival tactic. Seriously. You can't control the weather, right? But you can always choose how you react to it. Your attitude is that choice.
So here's how this plays out in the real world. A campaign completely bombs. Now you have a choice. Do you flip into panic mode, getting stressed out, making knee-jerk decisions, and maybe just wanting to quit? Or do you shift gears into problem-solving mode? That's where you face the facts. You ask, okay, what can I learn here? And then you calmly decide what to do next.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually build this kind of mental muscle? Well, the first practical strategy is to completely change your definition of a win, especially when you're just starting out.
This one's tough. I get it. Because we're all wired to see the dollar signs as the only scoreboard that matters. But just for a second, what if, for the first few weeks or months, the win had absolutely nothing to do with sales?
We have to switch our focus to something called a controllable win. All this means is a success metric that depends 100% on an action you take. It has nothing to do with the outcome or the result. It's something you and only you can guarantee. So how do you do this? It's actually pretty simple. First, you set a task you own completely. So instead of a goal like get 10 sales, which you don't control, your goal becomes publish 1 blog post. That you can control. Second, start a log of what you're learning, not just what you're earning. And third, just show up. Seriously, putting in the effort, especially on a day you don't feel like it, that's a huge win right there.
This is what it looks like in practice. Instead of driving yourself crazy refreshing your analytics dashboard every 5 minutes, you end your day with this one simple question. Because building your skills is progress, even if the bank account doesn't show it yet.
And that leads us perfectly into our second major strategy. We have to fundamentally change our relationship with failure. We need to stop seeing it as some final judgment on our abilities and start seeing it for what it really is, a tool. And this right here, this is the whole game. A beginner looks at a failed campaign and their inner voice says, I'm a failure. I'm just terrible at this. It's a personal verdict. A pro looks at the exact same results and sees data. Their inner voice says, okay, this headline didn't connect. This audience isn't the right fit. It's an observation about the strategy, not a judgment on them as a person.
You see what happens when you make that shift? A mistake is no longer this big, scary thing. It's just information. A setback isn't a dead end. It's simply feedback from the market. telling you what you need to tweak.
And to keep yourself going, you have to celebrate those small, controllable wins. Did you finally get that tracking pixel to fire correctly after hours of frustration? That's a huge win. Pop the champagne. Did you figure out what was wrong with your campaign? Win. Did you feel that wave of panic rising but chose to take a deep breath and stay calm? That might be the biggest one of all. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing isn't about being perfect right out of the gate. That's a fantasy. The real goal is just to become persistent. It's about building the resilience to stay in the game long enough for the wins to start showing up. When you're right in the thick of it, when nothing seems to be working and all your stats are flat, it is so easy to think you're failing. But what if that struggle isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong? What if that struggle is the work? That's the question that creeps in on the bad days, isn't it? The one that whispers in your ear that all this difficulty is proof that you're just not cut out for this, and maybe it's time to just hang it up.
But there is another way to look at that exact same feeling. What if the hardship isn't a roadblock, but the road itself? What if this challenge is the very thing that's forging you into the person who has the skills and the mindset to succeed? What if your toughest day isn't proof that you're failing, but the exact moment you finally become the person who can win?